I do truly feel that it is the most important issue right now in live music. And that is the thing that I've been beating the soapbox about for a few years now and been super open and honest about. The whole tracks thing. And again, if anyone thinks I'm being over the top about this and you're tired of hearing about it, guess what? You're not hearing about it just from me anymore. Literally every week there's another story. Every week. I mean, when I called this an epidemic for rock music, I wasn't kidding. And I absolutely did touch off conversation about this. Every interview, it seems like when people do interviews, it's coming up. And, the latest drama with this, and it's been endless, whether it was, the kid in Santa Cruz walking away from the microphone and the vocal coming out, or whether it was the band Falling in Reverse canceling because they admitted they didn't have their laptops, or whether it was Kiss's manager admitting Paul Stanley sings to a track, or whether it was Blackie Lawless admitting that he's singing to a track, or every day that I forget what the band was. I don't know. All That Remains. I forget what that band was. I don't want to say the wrong band. It might not have been them, but it was just a couple weeks ago. Guitar player, hey, I can't make the tour, but I recorded all my stuff. You'll hear me every night on a track. It's fucking insane what's going on. And if anybody out there has any love for the real rock live experience, if you're not outraged, if you're not like just fed up about all this, if you don't care about all this, again, as I've said repeatedly, then we're really done. We're really done because it's never going to change. Why is it? It will only keep getting worse as people continue to make excuses for it and accept it. And I'm telling you, I don't want to be talking about this every day because I wish this wasn't happening. But every day there's another story. So if you think I've oversold it or whatever, think again, because it's not me with these stories. Yeah, sure, I've made the news with some of it, but I'm talking, it's way beyond me now. You're seeing tons of artists speak out against it who play real and live. And the funny thing is, when all these bands are exposed for doing this, the narrative changes. Everybody does it, or all that nonsense, right? So again, if you don't think this is a massive problem, it's everywhere. Well, the latest salvo in all this, having nothing to do with me, is the legendary drummer Carmine Appice. And in the last 24 hours, Carmine has made all kinds of news on every friggin' website, although it looks like some of it has been taken down because I'm sure there was blowback about it. But Carmine, who I didn't even know this, is a friend of Mick Mars from Motley Crue, former guitarist. Carmine, who, is an older guy, doesn't have much of a filter. I respect that. But he alleges that he's spoken to Mick Mars, and Mick Mars was unhappy about things in Motley Crue. I don't know if that's entirely a surprise. Motley Crue's, always had a decent level of dysfunction among those guys from time to time. But that he was, one of the reasons why he didn't want to play in the band anymore is that, quote, everything was on tape, meaning the whole show is basically recorded. Stephen Pearcy, a couple weeks ago, made a statement about Motley Crue's show being, quote unquote, all on tape, alleging the bass isn't even live, the drum sounds aren't live, the vocals aren't live, only the lead vocal. Countless people have said this about Motley Crue. Motley Crue have said this themselves. Nikki admits it. Now, there are people out there that think that I'm giving Motley Crue a pass because they admit it. But I ask you this. If a band admits it, what are you supposed to do? If a band's being transparent, Blackie admits it. He admitted it in an interview. Kiss didn't admit it, but their manager did. Nikki has admitted it and is proud, seems to be almost proud about it. What are you supposed to do? Just keep banging and banging and banging on? No. If you don't like it, you don't go. But as long as the narrative gets rewritten as each band comes forward that's doing this, and it becomes the new normal, and there's no blowback from promoters, there's no blowback from fans, not only is it not going to stop, but what are you supposed to do? You either just move on and accept it and say that's what that band does and it's not for me. But if you wait in line and buy tickets to hear Computers, you're going to get much, much more of it. So I don't I no doubt started this dialogue. I can say that confidently. I mean, this all started with all the headlines I made when I was outraged about the things I was seeing and hearing. Others have now picked up the ball. And the thing with this thing with Carmine saying this about Mick, I mean, I think it's a couple things. It's because he's saying it's one of the reasons why Mick left the band. But is it news that Motley does this? They've admitted it. All you got to do is watch every day. There's a video on YouTube, microphones above people's heads and the vocals coming out. I mean, I don't know. Again, this isn't piling on, or all these bands that do it. It's not like I hate them. It's not like it's a personal thing. It's not for me. It's not. I've no, unless a band's on a festival or something I'm doing, I don't have an interest in hearing bands' computers. I have an interest in going to see bands that plug in and play live. That's across the board. I don't care who it is. But as far as the broader picture, until promoters care, and they don't, all they care about is what sells tickets, and until fans care and say, I'm not going because I want, if it's not live, it's never stopping. And that's why you're going to see this trend more and more of bands admitting it, because they're realizing there's no blowback. Because people are rewriting the narrative and saying, well, yeah, now it's cool, or well, because they're only doing it a certain. It's everywhere. I think we're at like easily 50% now of the bands on the road. Can tell you sure as shit as I'm sitting here, the Winery Dogs are going to go up there and play totally live the next couple days. There's a lot of bands that do, but there's a ton of bands that don't, and it's all at different levels, and how extreme it is and how much it is on varying degrees. But there are some bands where it's way over the top, and Carmine alleges that Mick, was so disenfranchised and upset about it as one of the reasons. Of course, the health stuff, but that's one of the reasons why, because he wasn't even able to play because all his guitars were on tracks. I'm not saying that. That's what Carmine alleges in talking to Mick. Mick Mars has not said a word since he's been out of Motley Crue. So when and if he ever does an interview, whether it's with me or anyone else, we'll find out about some of this stuff. But the last thing on this, which is why I think, unless you've been living under a rock, you may not know this. But again, Motley's transparent about it. I'm not saying that makes it right, but they've said it. So how that's even news, I don't know. And the other thing is this: 10 years ago on that metal show, Mick Mars said it on TV, on my show, on camera, unprovoked. If you can find the tape of when Mick Mars was on that metal show, he said something like, I don't know, I just said something like, hey, Mick, how's it going? And he goes, it's okay, but there's a little bit too much of that Britney Spears shit going on, if you know what I'm talking about. That's exactly what he said. And I said, what are you talking about? And he's talked about tracks 10 years ago, at least. What Carmine said, it's not like there's no precedent for this. Mick was complaining on a national TV show 10 years ago to me about it. But again, go to what you want. See what you want. I can't be the track police here. I've made my point. I know what's real and what's not. You should be able to figure it out pretty closely too. And again, fans of people have bands that they love. When they find this out, they conveniently find a way to justify it because it's their band doing it. Like in the case of Kiss, Paul and Gene made fun of bands that did this. Pull the press. Come on. But everyone rewrites the narrative as needed. I'm seeing stuff about Ozzy getting ready to tour in a friggin' wheelchair, considering he hasn't been able to sing for 25 years. And he's going to go out in a wheel? Like, what? Like, what the hell? I didn't want to get lathered up about this today. I really don't. But I mean, it's like, have some respect for your legacy and whatever. And especially if you got $10 kajillion and you don't need to tour, what are you doing? Go paint. Go whatever. But I mean, it's funny because, and I'll be honest with you, Carmine texted me this morning, but I didn't have time to talk to him about it because I guess he's blindsided by how much attention his comments got. But, I mean, I don't know how that's news. I mean, I guess the news is because he's saying that Mick said it led to him leaving the band, but I don't know that part of it to be true or not. But I do know Mick brought it up on my TV show over 10 years ago. And if a band is honest about it and the fans still go and are into it, then what are you going to do? I don't even understand, in the case of Motley, why they have to do it. They got a great guitar player. Their music isn't like super intricate. Sure, there's backing vocals. They got 3 women out there. I don't understand even the point of it. I'm sure they're more than capable of playing that stuff and making it sound great, plugged in and played. But I don't know. It's hard to fathom. But all I can say is it's never ending as long as people keep making excuses for it, say it's going to be the new norm, promoters don't care, and fans still go and tickets still sell. It will never end. It will only get worse. So it's in the hands of the fans now. In my opinion, the future of rock and roll, the validity of rock and roll, is in the fans hands. And you guys want to make excuses for it and say it's fine and whatever, then get ready for nothing but computers. We're getting to a point the bands aren't even going to show up. Just watch a hologram. Anyway, didn't even want to spend that much time on it, but it's been the talking point of the last 24 hours online. And there'll be another one in a couple days with another band. I mean, I just don't know how much more you have to see what's going on here. But Motley is the last band on the planet anyone should be shocked about, because they've been saying they're doing it for years.